the Home Pros Radio Show.
I'm Tommy Donovan with RIC Home Inspections, and this is the Home Pros Radio Show podcast. In this episode, my co-host Shane Hips with Closing Contractor and I will continue our review of the Home Pros Radio Show Spring Maintenance Checklist. In our previous podcast, we reviewed the importance of taking care of your home's exterior siding, trim, decks, and fences with Danny Baker from Quality Performance Pressure Washing. We also discussed some of the roofing and chimney issues that you can nip in the bud this time of year, among other things. We have a couple of exterior items to add to the list in this episode before we move inside your home to close out our list. Also, we have the experts from Carolina Heating Service in the studio to discuss your air conditioning system and some tips that will help ensure that you stay cool all summer long. Let's go ahead and join the conversation. We're going to continue discussing our Home Pros Radio Show Spring Maintenance Checklist. By the way, we're going to give you an audio cue today. Every time we hit an item on our checklist, you're going to hear Sonic the Hedgehog. We talked about this in the fall. But it's just as apparent or important in the spring. Fix cracks in your driveways, walkways, and patios. You're probably more apt to notice them now, especially after a freezing and thawing period. Right. Water gets in those cracks, freezes, things expand, and then everything melts away.
And the weather's real nice right now, so you're outside more. You're actually walking around the house, so you're more likely to see the things this time of year.
If you've noticed any of those cracks in the fall when we were recommending it and happened to mark them or do anything to taking pictures or compare those to the notes you made in the fall, that'll give you an idea if something's moving or not. If you got any, like if you've have any differential settlement. Right. If things start or if the crack's wider or something is uneven now. Another item on our Home Pros spring maintenance checklist, check your lawn equipment. Time to get that up and running again. It's time to get out there and do the weekend warrior yard work. Now that the weather's starting to warm up, make sure lawnmowers, tractors, and other equipment are tuned up before using those. Store oil and gas, very important, and other lawn equipment and tools in a vented, locked area. So make sure you get that done. And also, since we are dealing with lawn work and we're dealing with plants, trees, and shrubs and things growing around your house, you want to make sure that you're watering adequately. If you have a sprinkler system, check your lawn sprinkler system for leaky valves, exposed lines, improperly working sprinkler heads. I got a couple of those right now. I got to fix, but I got to dig a hole to do it, and I'm not looking forward to it. And also check for coverage. You know, a lot of times things change. You know, bushes get bigger and block the water closer to your house.
Something that used to get some water might not get it anymore because the bush is blocking it.
Exactly. Yeah. And then, another thing too is make sure your sprinklers are not hitting the house.
Yes. Yeah. You don't need to water your house itself.
That can create some havoc under the home with moisture issues if that is not nipped in the bud. So take care of your home. Make sure you're not hurting yourself by spraying water up against it. How about this one? Check your outside faucets.
The RIC Home Inspections photo from the field.
So if you're
looking at, I know what I'm doing.
Did you see that? That's right. You see that on Facebook? That's a photo that we have on our photo from the field. Look at that faucet handle there. I see this a lot of times. Water leaking from the handle whenever you have it on.
Yeah, yeah. Especially when people have left the hoses hooked up all winter and basically the water was in there and then it froze and backed up into it and it basically messes up the hose bib itself a lot of times. So, check those because, obviously if you have water dripping all the time, that's going to run your bill up. It's also going to put water right down next to your foundation, which is going to create more problems. So, it's definitely a good idea to check all your hose bibs this time of year.
You hear about this one all the time. Is have your HVAC, I'm having fun with these sound effects, have your HVAC system serviced. That's very important because we're getting ready to start using our AC and we want to go outside, check out our condenser unit, make sure that it's sitting level for one. Right. What else do we normally see out there? The cooling fins.
Yeah, I would look at the fins and down in at the coil and all, just make sure you don't see a bunch of growth or, make sure it's shiny. That'd be a good idea.
Clean out the cooling fins. Make sure air can move through. Trim bushes away from it, just like you would your house. And go ahead and have it serviced. It only costs like maybe $100 or so to have a HVAC contractor come out and do an annual service. An annual service from a licensed HVAC technician is very beneficial because your technician can evaluate and fix items that may be needed on your cooling system that we are not able to address on our own. We discussed this topic with our friends at Carolina Heating Service recently on the show. To tell us more, here is General Manager Connie Caldwell and Installation Manager Mike Helms with Carolina Heating Service.
And we talk about it every week. We do the Carolina Comfort Club is what you have. And I've talked to homeowners who have actually participated in the Carolina Comfort Club. And tell us a little bit about that and how it's designed and how it can help our listeners.
Our Carolina Comfort Club is our routine checkup plan for heating season and cooling season. Mm-hmm. We come out twice a year. We're going to inspect the air conditioning in the cooling season, obviously. We're going to check the drains. We're going to check all the electrical components. We're going to check the airflow, any problems that you may mention to our technician when he comes out. You're also going to get any discounts or anything that may be needed throughout the year. Heating season, we're going to check all the heating components that go along with the heating cycle. If you've got a fossil fuel furnace, we're going to do a combustion test, make sure it's working safely and efficiently. We don't want anyone to, have any carbon monoxide or any unsafe appliances in their home.
That makes sense.
So you guys do work on fossil fuel furnace. I mean, I know some people do, some people don't. So you guys do work on them?
LP, natural gas, oil furnace. Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, I mean, you just went down a whole list of things that, we throughout the show this morning, we've been talking about things that a homeowner can do to make sure that they can make, within their scope of ability, to make sure their system's in okay shape. Keeping the right clearances around, changing our filters. And the nice thing about your expertise and your crews, Mike, is that you guys can really dig deeper into the system. And it's an important thing to do. It's like changing the oil on your car, right?
Exactly. Maintenance on your equipment is the lifeline of your equipment. You need a qualified technician to come out and go over your whole system. There's a series of components in there that a homeowner really, may not know what they are or could get hurt trying to work on them.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have Carolina Heating Service come out, our technicians are NATE certified.
Tell us about that NATE certification. What does that mean? What does it stand for?
NATE stands for North American Technician of Excellence. It's a testing organization that tests technicians. They've got to meet a certain standard. It's a pretty rigorous test. We've recently certified 5 technicians in the past 2 weeks that we're super excited about. We're at about 75%, and the other 25% we are getting them trained and ready to get their tests.
Good information here that we shared with Carolina Heating Service. We had we learned a little bit, talked a little bit about how the systems work. I always feel like I know we get into the nuts and bolts of things, but a little bit. But I think that helps give some context into understanding why we do what we do. With keeping the shrubs clear around our condenser unit, make sure it's level, make sure we change our filters regularly.
All these things really do matter. I mean, people just take it, sort of for granted that it's out there, it's doing what it's doing. But if you think about it, if you got shrubs all up against it, it's getting it dirty, it's getting clogged, it's blocking airflow. One thing it just keeps on creating more problems.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then you end up having larger expenses sooner because, you didn't maintain it.
And of course, you can also learn more and get more professional help beyond what your ability is by calling the Carolina Heating Service and getting involved with their Carolina Comfort Club. 800-261-0359. Again, 800-261-0359. You can also find them online. There's a ton of information on their website, carolinaheating.com. All kinds of information in regard to all the services they provide. We talked about a lot of the things that we need to do to the exterior of our house, but how about moving into the interior?
Yeah, there's plenty of things inside the house that need to be taken care of as well.
How about checking your batteries and your smoke detectors?
That is something that absolutely should be done twice a year. Mm-hmm. They recommend whenever the time changes. So this is definitely something that needs to be done right now.
That's what I have noted here. Daylight savings time is the perfect time to change the batteries in your smoke detectors, one in each bedroom and one on each floor. Light bulbs. I have a note here on light bulbs.
If you're going to have a certain time of year to do it, now's as good as any, I guess.
Yeah, check each light bulb in every fixture for the correct recommended wattage and replace any burned out bulbs. It's a great item to have on this list, since we're going through a checklist, you might as well knock this one out. For folks who are energy conscious, consider replacing any high-intensity bulbs with fluorescent or LED bulbs for improved efficiency. Also, remember the episode we did back in December on fire safety, fire extinguishers. Check your fire extinguisher at least once yearly, including the hose, nozzle, and other parts to make sure they are in good condition and that the pressure gauge is in the green range. That's that little gauge that you have on your fire extinguisher. If you didn't already know what that's for, it doesn't mean it's out of gas.
Right. And don't test it in the house, you know, or anything like that, you know. Or don't actually set it off in the house, that is.
Yeah. And also make sure that it is accessible. Make sure it's in a location where everyone in the house knows where it is. So if you do need it for any reason, God forbid, that it's handy. It's right there. You don't have to go finding it or digging for it. For more on how to maintain your fire extinguishers, we actually talked about that with Will Brocious and the Greenville City Fire Department. That was back in December. That would be episode number 19. Check out episode number 19 of our podcast for more information on maintaining fire extinguishers and maintaining other things in your home for fire, to keep your home safe from fire, I should say. Another item that's important to check inside is your dryer, your laundry, especially your dryer vent. Make sure your dryer vent termination is free of blockage on the outside of the house. I just did a home inspection 3 days ago where vines had grown up over the dryer vent.
Yeah, it's amazing how many times you're under a house and see dryer lint all over the place where the pipe has come loose under the house and just been blowing it under there. And they say that's really flammable, so you have all that just sitting in your crawl space waiting for something to happen. Mm-hmm. So I think that's definitely a good thing to check out.
Mm-hmm. Dryer lint can build up not only in the crawl space but inside the vent pipe and collect around the duct. So if there's any blockage on the outside of the house, we want to make sure we get that free and clear. Also, we want to clean both the dryer exhaust duct and the space around the dryer because, you know, the duct itself takes care of the air going out. But what about it? It has to pull air in. So if it's starved for air and there's not enough air around the dryer itself, we need to make sure that that's taken care of. That we have a good air source for your dryer. Look for lint buildup inside the dryer as well.
Right.
We have an podcast episode where we talked about dryer vent maintenance. It's episode 24. We had Matthew Burrow with Dryer Vent Wizard on. Make sure you check that out.
And while you're in the laundry, check your washing machine.
Check the hoses for any cracks, bulges, or any dampness. Make sure you have braided steel lines for your washer supply. If you have rubber hoses, consider replacing them because those can burst unexpectedly. Have you ever had to deal with that?
No, I don't. No, I haven't. I've never had to.
I've had buyers and sellers tell me stories about, we just had to replace this and this because the hoses burst. But
I've definitely dealt with it from a contractor's perspective, but I've never dealt with it from a personal. But
gotcha.
But yeah.
So while you're doing that, check for leaky faucets, any clogged drains, any sweaty pipes. Check under the kitchen and bathroom sinks for loose connections. We were talking about checking your hose bibs on the outside, but we really didn't talk about some of the things that could arise inside your home. So make sure you check those aspects of your plumbing system. And also, while you're on your plumbing system, check your water heater. And what do you want to check for? Leaks, corrosion around your water heater. One thing that's important for homeowners to know is where your drain lines terminate.
Yeah, that's
if you have
very
an indoor
important.
water heater and you got a drip pan underneath it, know where that drain line for the drip pan goes. Also know where your temperature and pressure relief valve drain line terminates. That's probably even more important.
Oh, yeah.
Because that can start dripping without you knowing. And if it's not in a conspicuous location, if it's run to your crawl space or if it's, sometimes folks will run them to sump pumps or something like that. And unless you're looking, unless it's, we talk about sight unseen, unless you know it's there and you see it, it'll go unnoticed. And your safety relief valve, folks, is something that you want to make sure you have replaced if it is failing.
Yeah, we've talked about that, with the energy spikes and everything else. That's one of the things that it covers many things. You're losing water, you're wasting energy because if it's leaking, and that means that's less water in the in the water heater. And so as it's leaking, you're getting more cold water put in it, which means the heater is running more. The heating element's going to run more
water that you're not using.
Correct. And it just keeps on, and you'll start seeing the power bill go up. You're wasting water. It's just you really need to know where that is. Just it'll eliminate a lot of problems if you do know where it is and notice when water is coming from it.
Another item that can run up your power bill if it's not checked off on your spring maintenance checklist is your refrigerator. Clean your refrigerator coils. Make sure you have pull that refrigerator out from the cabinetry or from the wall. Look behind it.
You talking about where all that dust and hair and everything is?
Oh yeah. Oh gosh, that can actually affect the efficiency of the unit.
Absolutely.
So make sure you have that cleaned out and running well. So make sure you do that. And that wraps up our Home Pros Radio Show Spring Maintenance Checklist. So hopefully that'll help you along and take you a long way to making sure your home is good all throughout the summer.
You can find further details on some of the items we discussed in this episode in a number of our previous podcasts. They are episode 19, where we talk fire safety with Will Brocious from the Greenville City Fire Department, episode 24, which goes into further detail on maintaining your dryer vents with Matthew Burrow. He's from Dryer Vent Wizard. Also, we mentioned earlier how some of the items on our checklist will help save you from unexpected energy expenses. Check out episode 18 of our podcast, where Shane and I help you to troubleshoot and prevent unwanted spikes in your utility bill. Be sure to subscribe to make sure you don't miss a single episode, and also please feel free to share our podcast and leave a review to help us reach out to more homeowners who can take advantage of our show. We'll look forward to catching you next time on the Home Pros Radio Show podcast. Until then, I'm Tommy Donovan with RIC Home Inspections.
Thank you for listening to the Home Pros Radio Show. If you have a question for the Home Pros, visit us online at homeprosradio.com, where you can contact us directly and also learn more about the topics and guests we bring to you each week. It's the Home Pros Radio Show online at homeprosradio.com or on the radio at 94.5 WGTK, The Answer.